There was a time when American cars were so luxurious that people stopped and stared just from seeing them pass by on the street. These cars didn't look fast from the outside, but for the person sitting behind the wheel, that was an entirely different story. In this video, we're taking a look at the most luxurious and elegant American cars of the 1970s. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more. Number 10. 1971 Buick Riviera. If there is one American car from the entire 1970s that design historians consistently call a masterpiece, it's this one. The 1971 Buick Riviera's boat tail design is one of those rare moments in automotive history where an American manufacturer took a genuine creative risk and produced something that still stops people cold 50 years later. The rear of the car came to a point like a ship's hull inverted, with a pointed rear window and a tail that no other car in America remotely resembled. Bill Mitchell's design team had reached for something genuinely original, and they found it. The 455 cubic inch V8 made 315 horsepower, moving the Riviera with a smooth authority that matched its appearance perfectly. 0 to 60 in around 8.5 seconds in a car that floated over pavement the way that only the best American luxury cars of the era could. Inside, Buick gave the Riviera a cockpit that felt more driver-focused than most luxury cars dared to be in 1971. The center console, the bucket seating, the instrument panel, all of it said that this was a car for someone who wanted to drive, not just arrive. The boat-tail Riviera divided opinion in 1971. Today, it's universally admired. That's usually how the best design works. Number 9. 1974 Lincoln Continental Mark IV. In 1974, if you wanted to make an entrance, there was really only one choice, and it was over 19 feet long. The Lincoln Continental Mark IV was the American luxury car taken to its logical extreme, and then pushed a little further for good measure. That hood stretched forward for what seemed like a full city block. The opera windows, with their distinctive Continental spare tire silhouette, became one of the most recognized design details of the decade. The chrome wasn't decorative, it was architectural. But here's what separated the Mark IV from mere excess. It had genuine presence. There's a difference between a car that's big and a car that's imposing, and the Mark IV understood that distinction completely. The proportions were right, the weight of the chrome was balanced. The roofline had a formality that felt earned rather than imposed. Inside, Lincoln gave the Mark IV every luxury feature the era could offer. Cartier clock, genuine leather, thick carpeting, a ride quality that absorbed road imperfections with patrician disdain. The 460 cubic inch V8 made 220 horsepower and moved this enormous machine with appropriate dignity. The Mark IV was never subtle, but the best American luxury cars of the 1970s weren't trying to be subtle. They were trying to be magnificent. Number 8. 1971 Oldsmobile Toronado. Here's something most people don't realize about the Toronado. It was one of the most technically sophisticated American cars of its era, and it looked the part completely. The 1971 Toronado had a presence that was genuinely different from everything else in the Oldsmobile lineup, or anyone else's lineup for that matter. That long, uninterrupted hood stretched forward with an authority that front-wheel drive cars simply don't achieve today. The roofline curved gently backward into a fastback profile that belonged in a design museum. The front end was wide, low, and deliberately imposing without being aggressive. Under that striking exterior, the 455 cubic inch V8 made 350 horsepower in 1971. Still a serious number, even as the emissions era was beginning to bite. Front-wheel drive gave the Toronado handling characteristics that rear-drive American cars couldn't match, particularly in wet weather. Inside, Oldsmobile had created an environment of controlled luxury, deep pile carpeting, a sweeping dashboard that curved around the driver, and seating that managed to feel both sporty and deeply comfortable. The The Toronado wasn't trying to compete with Cadillac on opulence. It was competing with nobody, because nothing else looked or drove quite like it. Number 7. 1972. Mercury Montego GT. Mercury doesn't get nearly enough credit, and the 1972 Montego GT is exactly the kind of car that proves why that's such a shame. In 1972, while everyone was looking at Cadillac and Lincoln, Mercury was quietly building one of the most elegantly proportioned personal luxury coupes in their entire history. The Montego GT had a long, flowing hood that tapered into a formal roofline with a rear deck that swept cleanly toward a simple, uncluttered tail. No excessive chrome, no Baroque ornamentation, just clean, considered American design at a moment when most manufacturers were drowning everything in decoration. Inside, Mercury gave the Montego GT a cabin that felt deliberately refined. Cloth or vinyl seating in muted tones, a straightforward instrument panel without unnecessary flash, and a sense of quiet dignity that a lot of more expensive cars couldn't match. The 5.0-liter V8 made 168 horsepower, honest numbers for an honest car. It wasn't trying to be a Cadillac or a Lincoln. It was trying to be exactly itself, a mid-size American luxury coupe with genuine character and no pretense whatsoever. The Montego GT is the kind of car that people rediscover decades later and wonder why they ever forgot about it. The answer is simple. It was too quiet for its own good. Number 6. 1971. Imperial LeBaron. Chrysler built the Imperial as their answer to Cadillac and Lincoln, and in 1971 they came closer to the right answer than they ever had before or would again. The 1971 Imperial LeBaron was a genuinely beautiful automobile. That's not a casual observation. The body had a formal elegance that neither the Eldorado nor the Continental quite matched in that particular year. Longer and lower than its predecessors, with a front end that used hidden headlights behind doors that opened with a quality mechanism that visitors to a dealership would open and close repeatedly just to hear the sound. The 440 cubic inch V8 made 335 horsepower in 1971, still a serious engine, before the emissions tables arrived to take the edge off everything. 0 to 60 in around 8.8 seconds in a car that isolated its occupants from the outside world with a completeness that impressed even Cadillac engineers who got their hands on one. Inside, the LeBaron offered standard leather seating, real wood trim on the dashboard, and door panels, and a ride quality that was less like driving and more like being conveyed. Every surface communicated quality. Every detail was considered. The 1971 Imperial LeBaron is the car that Chrysler should have built for many more years. The fact that they didn't is one of the great missed opportunities in American luxury automotive history. Number 5. 1976 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz. In 1976, Cadillac announced that the following year would bring a downsized Eldorado, smaller, lighter, more efficient. And with that announcement, something happened that Cadillac hadn't quite planned for. People lined up. The 1976 Eldorado Biarritz was the last of the truly massive Eldorados, 224 inches long, with an 8.2-liter V8 that displaced 500 cubic inches and represented the largest passenger car engine in American production history. It was the end of something, and buyers who understood that purchased the Biarritz specifically because they understood it. The Biarritz package added a padded vinyl roof with a distinctive opera window, chrome accents that went beyond even the standard Eldorado's already generous application, and interior appointments that included genuine leather, deep pile carpeting, and wood grain trim on every surface. This was Cadillac's most luxurious expression of what the Eldorado had always been trying to be. The 500 cubic inch V8's 190 horsepower sounds modest until you remember what it felt like in practice. An enormous wave of torque that arrived at almost any RPM, moving this massive machine with an effortlessness that smaller engines simply couldn't fake. The 1976 Eldorado Biarritz isn't just beautiful, it's the end of an era wearing its finest clothes, and that makes it something genuinely irreplaceable. Number 4. 1977 Lincoln Continental Town Car. Some cars define a decade. The 1977 Lincoln Continental Town Car went further. It became the visual definition of American luxury itself. Long, formal, chrome-appointed. The opera windows, the hood ornament that announced your arrival before the car came into view. Inside, hand-stitched leather, real wood on every panel, and seating that one contemporary review called the finest in any American automobile. Nobody disagreed. The 460 V8 made 208 horsepower. The emissions era had taken its toll, but nobody bought a town car for speed. They bought it for presence, for the feeling that they had made it. 0 to 60 in around 11 seconds. Nobody cared. Nobody ever cared in a town car. Number 3. 1975 Buick LeSabre Custom Convertible. By 1975, the American convertible was nearly extinct. Most manufacturers had already walked away. Buick held on a little longer, and for the people who got one of these, that stubbornness meant everything. With the top folded away and that massive Buick grille catching the afternoon sun, the LeSabre Custom was American luxury at its most theatrical. The flowing body lines, which looked merely handsome with the top up, became genuinely beautiful with it down. Inside, plush seating, a confident dashboard, and that particular Buick atmosphere that felt both substantial and completely comfortable. The 350 V8 made 145 horsepower. Nobody buying a convertible in 1975 was timing quarter mile. They were feeling the wind and the last days of a tradition that was almost gone. Number 2. 1972 Buick Electra 225 inches. That's where the name came from. And in 1972, those dimensions weren't a joke, they were a promise. The Deuce and a Quarter was the largest, most opulent car in the Buick lineup, and in 1972, it was at its peak. Long, chrome-accented, with a roofline that managed to be both imposing and graceful. Inside, deep pile carpeting, broad leather seating, and a restrained instrument panel that understood something most luxury cars forgot. Real luxury doesn't shout. The 455 V8 made 225 horsepower and delivered the smooth, unhurried power that Electra buyers expected. 0 to 60 in around 9 seconds in a car this size was perfectly acceptable when the journey itself was the point. Number 1. 1978 Chrysler New Yorker Brougham. If I had to pick one car from the entire 1970s that best represents American luxury at its most complete, design, craftsmanship, presence, interior quality, all of it together, it's this one. Chrysler was fighting for its survival in 1978. A government bailout was 2 years away. You would never know it from this car. The New Yorker Brougham was built as if Chrysler had unlimited resources and nothing to prove. The exterior was formal, American elegance done exactly right, long without being excessive, imposing without being aggressive, chrome applied with actual restraint. Inside, genuine leather with hand-stitched seams, real wood across the full dashboard, and door pan carpet that genuinely absorbed road noise. The 440 V8 made 195 horsepower and moved this car with quiet authority. 0 to 60 in 10.5 seconds. In a car this complete, that number is irrelevant. The New Yorker Brougham wasn't competing with sports cars. It was trying to make every single mile feel worth taking. On this list, in this decade, nothing did that better.